Okay, so it's lovely to have you back. Thank you so much for joining. And this is officially the last class of this amazing course that we've journeyed on together on how to heal your relationships. And I really hope that you've got enough information now to just go and mull it all over and really begin to apply it. In fact, I hope you've already started to apply it, but from now on, let's just really just apply, and remind ourselves of all these wonderful things that we've shared together on this course. And today I want to wrap it all up. I want to wrap it all up in love. And I'm calling the title of today's topic, Two Halves Don't Make a Whole. Unlike we've all been taught in geometry, right? And I felt that this was really important to talk about as our last class today, because two halves don't make a whole. Not at all. Who knows what I'm getting at right now? Who can rephrase? Who wants to give my topic today a new title? Who would like to rephrase it? You give the title today. Rephrase that and put it right for me. Two halves don't make a whole, so what makes a whole? I can throw it out there. You know me, there's no right or wrong. I'm just looking at on my phone the rest of the topic title, which I didn't put in my thing, but I have got it on my phone.
I haven't got anything eloquent, but I was just going to say, unless Yen wants to say.
No, you can both say.
No, I'm just saying two halves don't make a whole. So that could also mean that you don't necessarily need somebody to be whole, that you can also be single and be
I
whole.
love that. It's not what I was getting at, but it's very
Sorry.
true. And actually, you've jumped right to the end and the conclusion bit. Yes, you're absolutely spot on. You're spot on. You're spot on. So how would you say it then? Two halves don't necessarily make a whole. You could say, I'm whole in my own right, or something. Something like that. Yeah. You're absolutely right on the button. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yes, absolutely. You've jumped to the end. Bahara, what would my topic was two halves don't make a whole. Join Rosin for 3 key eye openers on what it takes for a relationship to really work. That was the.
Well, just like it's two worlds coming together, right? Because it's like, you know, a lot of people say, you are my world. And I'm like, I'm always like, well, maybe I'm my own world.
Mm.
And we're coming together in a universe. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm just like, we are whole. It's so important because when someone depends on you for their happiness, it will never get filled, right? And I'm going to go jump to step 3, so I won't say anymore.
I'm just handing it over to you guys now. I've done my job. You can teach now. Yes.
So could you be saying that basically in some people's eyes, or it's a belief that to make it one whole thing, that it takes two people? I don't know what I'm talking about. So that we need in order to be whole, you need to be whole yourself before you can. No.
Yes.
I think I know what I'm saying,
Right
but
on.
it's like, because I'm seeing it from a single point of view. So I know that I need to be whole myself. So with all the work that's done, in order to attract that person and be super wholesome, if that makes any sense. Maybe.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. You're right on it. You're right on it. You're both right on it. And you've said it in your both beautifully unique ways. Here's Bahar talking about worlds and universes, which I love. It's like that romantic. And here's Yen with her practical view of things, right? Which is so beautiful as well. And how beautiful are they? Yeah. And it's exactly right. You're both exactly right. Yeah. My way of rephrasing it would be two wholes make a whole. WHOLE. Two wholes make a whole. Half of something, yeah, is half of something. You can't really make up a whole with the other half of something. They will always remain as two halves. But if you are whole and wholesome in your own right, if you are the world, as you said, Baharak, in your own right, if you are your own universe in your own right, then when another universe comes along, that's when you can really enjoy your relationships. There's nothing else left to do because you are whole. You are wholesome, as you said, yeah. Wholesome is one of the words I use as well. Wholesome. And we've learned throughout this last 6 months together what it takes to be wholesome. And today I'm just summing it all up and wrapping it all up for you in a whole load of love. My little cliches, I love them. Yeah. So yes, you could rephrase it in many ways. Two worlds coming together to make one. Two wholesome individuals coming together to make one whole, wholesome relationship. We all know, and we've learned along the way, that we can't be in a relationship if we're just sort of halfway there in our own rights. We've got to be fully wholesome. We have got to have matured into the full wholesome being that we are as much as possible. And there's never an end in a way to that journey. There's always more to discover about oneself, but at the very least with our own self-love, to be able to then just enjoy the other fully. And when you are whole, all the barriers are down. Because when you are whole, there's nothing you need to fear. Because what does it mean to be whole? It means that I've got it all inside of me. I have everything I need. So the other is free. And when the other's free, so are you, right? When we are whole, full of our own self-love, we are free to love and be loved any which way life turns up. And that's the ticket. That's the ticket actually to happiness, not just happy relationships, it's the ticket to happiness. It's all very well known, the theory, isn't it? And I was thinking today before I jumped on this call, you know, my words will just be words, just spoken words, until they are taken on and lived fully as experiences. And you know already that there's a journey to get there. You know already what work you need to do, and you're doing it. You know, you're doing it. I don't suppose there's ever a stage when we become fully whole, as in the limit, you know, we reach a limit where there's no more room for growth. That doesn't exist, thank God. Thank God. Somebody said to me once, Rosalind, all the work that you do in yourself, is there ever going to be an end to it? And I'm like, no, thank God. Thank God there isn't, because there's always more of me to discover. There's always more that I can experience. And hence, in that very fact, it's not a tall order. It's like, oh God, that mountain to climb to get to me at the top of the mountain. No, it's just life. It's just a journey. It's just the way I live. So it's not a mountain to climb anymore. It's not a goal to reach. It's a gift that I've given myself, that's all. Because I know that I'm unlimited. And thank God that there's lots more of me to discover. Otherwise, I'd get to a point where I'd be so bored of myself. Well, what's the point? Right? And thank God that everybody else is the same. There's always more and more of our beautiful selves that can unfold. But what really is important in the equation is to love that beautiful self so well, so wholeheartedly, so fully, that you are free as a bird, that your soul is free. And that the people that you encounter in your lives, whether you have short or long-term relationships with them, just look at them with the eyes of love. See them as love, just looking straight back at you. Ah, there's love. Wow. In all its different shapes and forms and sizes and volumes. Love is something that we're still learning to recognize. Be open to being shown love in all its shapes and sizes. And love yourself through it all. That's wholesome. That's whole. That frees you up of all the unnecessary pain that arises in relationships. Let's look at this a little bit more deeply. I've written down here, before I move on, we will only truly enjoy our relationships. We will only truly love this existence as separate from each other if we become whole in our own right and experience the wholeness within ourselves. When you experience the wholeness within yourself, this existence of separation becomes a joy, like a fun experiment, like a kind of experience, because I have the awareness that I am one with it all, and I have the awareness that in this particular existence, I'm separate. Through this particular mind filter, if you like, I'm separate. But because I know it, because I know the truth and my current reality, I can just enjoy it. I can just play with it. It becomes a playground. Life becomes your playground rather than a struggle. It doesn't mean to say that there are not going to be challenges. You know, today I learned the news that I lost my cousin who lives in Canada. She died of a second huge seizure at the age of 56, I think. So a mother has lost her daughter, and a daughter has lost her mother today, amongst many others. I also learned that one of my very dear friends in Malaysia, thank you, darling, her daughter is in hospital with tumors, one of which has ruptured in her womb, and she's being operated on. She's 8 years old. So it doesn't mean to say that life won't have any challenges for you. But when you are wholesome, these challenges won't be the end of the world. They will just be life playing itself out. We won't go under as far as we might have if we didn't feel whole in our own rights. When we become whole and wholesome, a whole new level of existence, a whole new open perspective shows up for us, and we live from that perspective. It doesn't mean that there's no pain, it doesn't mean that there's no challenges. It just means that we live them differently, with great awareness, with the eyes of one who is awakened. And I'd like to invite you to continue your journeys well and truly beyond this 6-month course that we've done together. To just keep on keeping on. And I'm going to be doing the same. You can think of me in your days when you're feeling really low, go, oh, Rosalind will be doing something on herself today. And I'll be thinking of you too. I hope they're working on themselves today. Because so often on those very low days, you will find that actually it's a global feeling. But the vast majority of people are feeling very vulnerable and low as well, perhaps. So join in together, do whatever you need to just breathe into it and rise up again and walk on into the unknown. Who knows where we're all going with this, but we might as well make the very best of every single minute that we have with ourselves and our loved ones. Make it a great journey. I sound like a preacher. I think I'm turning into a preacher. It just comes out that way. What can I do? I'm a bit like my dad. My dad preaches. So funny. I think it's in the DNA. So I'm going to put some questions out to you now. Let's move into key eye opener number 2. Key eye opener number 1 is, it takes 2 wholes to make a whole. But what does it take to make a whole individual? And I'd love you to just unmute your microphones and just throw out whatever ideas you have from what you've learned along the way with me, what you know from your own lives and your own experiences and your own beautiful, amazing inner wisdoms. I'd like to draw on that and hear what it takes to make a wholesome individual. How does a wholesome individual work, operate, behave, think, breathe, and what it takes to make one? Who would like to go first? Off you go. I've got my ideas, of course, I'll share as well. We can just add this to the pot. And if you like, you can just have your pieces of paper, if you've got paper and pen there, and just write them down. Just throw these things out. You already know them. This is really just a reminder, a recap of everything we've done together. Yes, my love.
Just like, not to be too deep, but like basically when my mum died, I had so many regrets towards at the end of her life, when she was not so drugged up with everything, that like I was kind of sarcastic. I was, a lot of things. So I thought I want to make sure that I go back to somewhat of my old self before all of that. And so I thought, what qualities do I want to have, or have back, should I say? Because I think I started off that way. And it was just, I wanted to try to remain patient, compassionate, seeing past myself, seeing the needs of others, even though some people say that I always did. I always feel like that's so crucial. To see past your own needs is
I'm
so
writing things down because I'm putting into my pot all your lovely wisdom, patience, compassionate, seeing beyond
my own needs.
my own needs, yeah.
I think that's the biggest one that's underrated in this world for me, and for like so many arguments go around, well, I don't get this and I don't get that, and obviously expectations, but it's also not seeing past your own needs. And I'm like let's say my current partner, and I'm like, well, let's say, because this happened this week, I'm thinking, well, when has my needs ever come into the mind ever in all of this? So it's kind of like a mirror, of course. And so I'm like, so when things like this happen, I think I must make sure at least I do that. I can't do much about what other people do. So yeah. But also being more aware that a lot of things that have hurt me and made me bitter, which a lot of the times that's what made me the way I was towards my mum, was actually just people unable to communicate in the right way how they were really feeling, and they felt it was easier to find flaws and faults. So I think that also keeping aware of what's your mess and what somebody else's mess is.
Yeah. Having a kind of clarity. Let's put this down as like having clarity of what's mine and what's yours. Should we say that?
Yeah. I might also like taking space, as in two forms: taking space, owning space that you take up in the world as just as important as anybody else, but also taking space in the sense of when you're angry or frustrated or anything else, taking a breath, taking space. That's the time you crucially find out, am I just angry at them for something they've actually done, or am I angry at something I've done?
Yeah, self-reflection. Yeah. Nice, beautiful. This is so beautiful, Bahara. I just want you to notice how beautiful it is that you are really coming into the kind of ownership of what goes on inside of you, the ownership of your own experiences, because they are happening inside of us, right? Our experiences are not happening outside of us. We receive them and experience them inside of ourselves. And so they are ours to own.
They, you know, people always say like the bad things that happen to us, well, people, spiritual people, it's me. They say that, you know, these bad experiences, these awful experiences in your life, they're here to teach you something. And I hate that, because I'm like, well, do I really need another trauma? You know,
Or a lesson.
yeah, do I really need another one? But my mum got, you know, leaving this world, and, you know, the things that surrounded that. And weirdly, my, you know, my relationship with my good best friend, or whatever you want to call him, and losing him this last year, not in death but in living, have been two of my like greatest self-reflections. So that's what you're getting right now, and maybe in a couple of years I'm going to be in another place, but that's where I am.
Let the whole experience just unfold. Because these experiences, even though, you know, we may have lost a loved one to either death or to something else, some kind of separation, the experience continues to unfold inside of us, because we live it. We, you know, it just, nothing ever has a definite end to it.
Yeah.
So you can let it unfold, you know, just the way life unfolds inside of you. Just keep opening up to it, keep opening up to it, keep opening up to it. Oh, just see what comes. Let it keep coming. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Lovely. I got a few things I put in my pot. What about Ian? Did she want to throw out what makes a wholesome individual? I'm using your word, although I also put it down, but it's exactly that, isn't it? It's somebody who's really wholesome. How do they behave and what makes them?
Well, the first word I put down, which you mentioned, was clarity.
Can't hear you very well, sweetie.
Ooh, you not hear me?
Not very muffled, very far away and very muffled.
I think the
Basically,
first
your
word that I put
headphones isn't working.
dodgy. Yeah, the first word I put down was clarity, and I think for me personally, you know, I feel like my journey will never, okay, it will be never be ending. I can't even talk properly. It will never be ending, never ending, whatever.
Never end.
Never, yeah, that as well. So I've been on this journey for about a year, and I know that I've changed as a person, and I'm growing. I'm getting stronger. So for me, clarity is a big thing. So I know that being whole, yeah, I'm looking forward to being whole. But I think for now, things like kind of, you know, focusing on self-esteem, confidence, you know, being disciplined, learning to set boundaries naturally, you know, being happy, being joyous, giving as well as receiving, without any expectations, accountability as well. So in every choice, every decision I make, take accountability for my own actions with no excuses, and be more aware as well. So I feel like yeah, being very aware of certain things.
Yes, that's amazing. Just want to interject on one point here. I'm looking forward to being whole.
Well, do you know what is whole for me? No. I think it's just like, you know, I feel like more of myself how I was when I was younger, but just a better version. But I know that there's always room for improvement. So I know that, you know, it's a continuous progression.
Yeah, I
And
prefer that
journey.
because you know what I'm going to say. You are whole, of course, right?
I'm
It's
whole.
just our perception of ourselves that doesn't see that. That's all that's in the way. Yeah. And when we do see ourselves as whole, we're just going to have the last half. We're going to go, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that. It's like that. It's a bit like that. It's a bit like somebody's just holding this sort of fuzziness in front of us and we're not seeing ourselves clearly, or anything for that matter. We're all in the same boat here. So I just want to just sort of rephrase it slightly. Yeah, you are whole, but looking forward to maybe just experiencing more of that.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting. At the beginning, you said about, you know, the two halves being a whole. And I think kind of when you come out of one relationship and a toxic one at that, you know, that half is, you know, it's like losing an arm, isn't it? And you think you start doubting yourself, you start questioning things, and that, you know, independent thing that you mentioned as well, it's all those things come into play. And I feel like, you know, the last year I've got stronger and stronger, you know, kind of, it doesn't matter if I'm in a relationship or not. I know what I want. I know I'm happy being single, and that's a choice. So I know that next relationship, you know, putting it out there, manifesting whatever, you know, I look forward to it with open arms. But every so often, you know, little obstacles will be in my way, like mini stalkers. So it will test me again. So kind of, you know, I have to pull back, and then, you know, shift from there, and just carry on. So I feel like, yeah, I feel strong. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. If you were to enter into a relationship now, and it lasted however long it lasts, and then perhaps it would come to an end, who knows, would you feel that you had lost an arm? Would you feel that
No,
you'd lost an arm? That's what I want
no,
to
because
hear.
my perspective would be
Why?
completely different.
Because
I think that the last relationship, yeah, yeah, you know, it is. I had to learn, and I know what to look for as well. I think that if the alarm bells are going to ring, they're going to ring early.
yes, you can see the
Yeah.
writing on the wall.
The warning signs is like, okay, just give me the green light, and, you know, I don't even want to stick to amber. I just want green, green, green. But it's like, yeah, I think I've got better. I'm not gonna, you know, just somebody gives me a bit of attention doesn't mean that I'm gonna, you know, kind of go out for lunch with them, and, you know, just because I'm single, it doesn't, you know, I'd rather be single than into another relationship with a complete wacko. So yeah.
What happens when we become more and more wholesome in our own rights is that, you know, we may have relationships with people, they may be short and not last very long, or they may last forever, who knows, they're all going to be different. But what's different is that when we're wholesome, if that relationship does end, it doesn't feel like we've lost an arm, because we're holding our own rights and we feel it. Yeah. So my sense is, yeah, that you're feeling a lot more whole already in your own right. So you're freer to, happier on your own, yeah, happier to have somebody enter into your life, you know, anything, you know, it's all okay, because I feel okay in my own right. Yeah. And that's when you are freest to actually let life just unfold the way it wants to unfold, because I'm free, because I have so much self-love on board that it's okay, whatever happens is okay. That's beautiful. I'm going to throw my ideas into the mix. What makes a wholesome individual? Authenticity, right? We talked about this many times. Somebody who's true to their heart, who chooses their heart's truth in every choice they make. And if it takes time to get into the heart's truth and know what that is, then so be it. Like I said to you before, I've got friends who like sit around for half an hour deciding what their heart's truth choice is about, what restaurant they're going to go and have dinner in, literally. And that's fine. And I love that, because they're so dedicated to their heart's truth. Yeah. And this is really, I think, the most beautiful way to live. Somebody who has met and who continues to meet their own needs. As you were saying, Baharak, about needs, yeah? To know my own needs and to meet them in the best way I possibly can, without depending on the other or expecting the other to do it for us. The more we can do these for ourselves, these things for ourselves, the better our relationships will be. It doesn't mean that we never have needs, but there's always ways of meeting them. And if we know that our partners, our nearest and dearest, or our parents or our children can't meet them, there's always a million different ways in which they can be met. Yeah. Not least within ourselves a lot of the time as well. Sometimes we discover that the need isn't even a need in the first place. It's just some kind of like annoyance or some kind of pain. So in we go, heal it, done. Needs dissolved into nothing. So that's one I've written down. For me, somebody who is truly wholesome is somebody who embraces their experiences, not as right or wrong or good for me or bad for me, but just as life, simple experiences. They're just experiences, just become experiences with nothing attached to them. So there's no judgment about what I'm experiencing or who I'm in a relationship with. This isn't wrong for me or better for me than the last relationship or worse for me than the previous relationship or whatever. It's not like that anymore for somebody who's truly wholesome. It just is. It takes a bit of journeying to get to this point where you are free of making life right or wrong. It's less challenging from this point of view because you just embrace it as it is. Okay, this is. Somebody who's truly wholesome for me is able to literally surrender. Surrender is a fabulous experience. I invite you to do it as often as you possibly can. If you're in trouble, feeling resistance towards something or having a really tough time, just literally the first place to go, surrender. Instead of going into battle, which we so quickly do, right? And I still do. I mean, whilst I'm here sort of being the preacher kind of thing, you know me, I still make these mistakes. I lost the plot with my daughter really badly over the weekend, but we made up very quickly. I got aggressive and angry, and she was angry and aggressive back. It wasn't pretty at all, but we quickly made up, we returned to our truth, yeah? So a wholesome person can do that. Return very quickly. Remember our topic, mess up and make up. Make up as quickly as you possibly can, because we are going to continue to mess up. We're not out of the woods. We may mess up for the rest of our lives, but as long as we have the presence, the ability to own our pain, heal it quickly, and return to the truth, which is our love, that's wholesome behavior. But if you have made a mistake, or if there is something in life that's just proving to be just really pushing your buttons, there's a place that we can go to when we surrender, which is actually so freeing. It frees you up. And actually what's happening in life no longer looks like a problem because you've surrendered to it so fully. It's only a problem when you're resisting it, right? Your very resistance to it actually is making it the problem. But if, if the French resistance, la résistance française, hadn't resisted, I don't know, that's a big topic. But if we don't resist, if we just, there's nobody to fight. Yeah, there's nothing to fight. There's nothing to fight for, and there's nobody to fight with. And there's nobody for the other to fight with. It's just diffused completely. That white flag of surrender diffuses the whole battlefield. And it's very, very nice. So practice surrender. A wholesome person practices surrender regularly when things get too much, or when you're feeling resistance or just can't cope with something. Literally just sink into it, sink into the whole thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience, and it frees you up enormously. It's incredibly powerful to do that. So instead of trying to change somebody or change an experience or make yourself right over somebody, you just, total surrender. And this way, all your experiences merge into the making of a very positive person, of a very powerful person, of a master. This is mastery. Somebody who behaves like this in life is a master. And you'll behave like this as a master until you get to the point where you've mastered. And you're so zen and so fine that you're totally in your own inner peace. You have so much awareness, so much inner strength, because you've owned your pain so often. Every time you own your pain, you gain in strength, inner strength. It makes you strong. It makes the next time pain shows up easier to own. And trust me, it really does help, because sometimes huge pain comes knocking at your door and it's like you feel like you're going to die from it because it's so excruciating, but you're strong enough by then, because you've kept owning your own pain and healing it, that it's okay. You can do this one too. So it's incredibly empowering to own your own pain and let all your experiences just merge and become the making of this incredibly masterful, aware, positive person. somebody who's very wholesome, practices forgiveness. And Terry gave me this one on a call that we had recently. He said something, I was, oh God, darling, quick, I've got to write it down. I'm going to use this in my next class. And he'll use it as well, hopefully, in the classes that we do together. But he said, you know what, darling? He said, forgiveness for me is accepting my own pain and letting it go. Forgiveness for me is accepting my own pain and letting it go. It doesn't even have anything to do with the other. It's all about, it's like, what's that lovely quote that I think it's from Khalil Gibran? Forgiveness is the fragrance that the flower gives off when it's crushed. It's a bit like that. Somebody who's truly wholesome is truly vulnerable. We talked about vulnerability. I shared something on Facebook the other day because I was in my little sanctuary in the garden here, surrounded by beautiful forget-me-nots, which are these tiny, tiny little blue flowers with a little yellow center. They're just exquisite. I was like, my God, I was just looking at this thing going, my God, you're so beautiful and you're so tiny. And I took a photo and the message was, how vulnerable can you be? There is such intense beauty in vulnerability and grace and a blossoming of the true you. Because vulnerability is softness. And in softness, the true you can just shine outwards. And nature shows it to us all the time in every single flower. This vulnerability. It takes great strength to be vulnerable. It takes that tree and those strong branches to then be vulnerable on its very tips with its flowers and its blossoms. So a wholesome person is soft and gentle and vulnerable. And the list goes on. I could be here all day, but I think you know them already. Basically, a wholesome person is the real you. It's just you being you. Does anybody else want to add any more into the mix of what makes a wholesome person and how a wholesome person behaves? Anything else you want to add? Yes, my love.
I was just going to say, because something Yen said that sort of made me think, because me and Yen are kind of in very different experiences, but similar position in that we got hurt by people we loved, and we maybe ignored certain red flags, in certain points, and so she said something that made me really prick my ears, is that she said, I'm going to be much more aware sooner about red flags. And I just got to thinking, I don't know what that was. I just got to thinking that there's a danger in that for me as well, in that, like, you're gonna pick on red flags before they just look similar, but they're not actually the same. They just have, like, 3 points of similar sentences or similar mannerisms or something, and it's going to trigger that pain, and you automatically classify someone as no good. And so you're saying about wholesome, it's like, I'm guessing that to be truly whole for myself, or I can only speak for myself, but is to give people a little bit of benefit of the doubt.
That's beautiful. Yes, why not? Absolutely. And let's not forget, I'll be with you in a second, my love. Let's not forget that although it doesn't look like it, the pain that we experience inside of ourselves was probably already there. Remember, we talked about this some sessions back, that it's our loved ones, our nearest and dearest, that are going to push those buttons. They're not the cause of the pain. The pain already exists inside of us. So use those opportunities. Oh my God, I'm in so much pain. They've just said something that's just sent me into hell. They probably didn't mean to send you into hell. but I'm in hell because of all of the stories I have told myself in the past, my past unresolved trauma from childhood, maybe, yeah, my own inner pain. This is my own inner experience. So I'm going to take myself away and I'm going to do my healing so that the next time somebody says that, it's like water off a duck's back. Yeah. We can't continue in our relationships to be like puppets on the strings, right? And to do that, we need to cut the strings. Cutting the strings is your own healing. My beautiful friend Hannah Lowe, who I'm not sure if you know her, she's also a teacher like myself, and we do the same kind of healing actually. She shared a very beautiful analogy recently on Instagram, if you want to look it up. She talked about having like a sort of a living map of pain inside us with all these intersections. I was really seeing this living, almost like a roadmap of pain inside us. And then somebody comes along and goes, bing, and just presses on one of those intersections, which is like the button. It's where we already have the pain. Remind yourselves of the possibility that that person is there to show you where it is. They're not the cause of it. They're just going, oh, look, you've still got some pain there. I think you're ready to deal with it. I'm going to press on that button. I'm going to hold my finger down on that button until you have healed it. Or I'm going to do it just in gentle little spurts. But I'm going to do it until it's no longer there. So use the outside world as your opportunity to heal, not as something that, and we're going to get to this in a minute, that you reject and make wrong. Remember, we're not making our experiences wrong anymore. We're using them, yeah, for our own personal growth, for our own healing. Does that make sense, Maharak, for you?
Yeah, and Mum. And I was thinking also, I should ask more questions. If something feels unsafe, then I should say, instead of hesitating that I might look wounded, ask the question.
Yes, ask a question, but perhaps
Clarify.
yes, understand what's going on fully. Absolutely, yes. But ask those questions without any of that stuff that goes along with the question sometimes. Like, what are you getting at? And sometimes it can be a little bit of an attack in our questions. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a blame in our questions, right? So genuine question. I'm not sure I'm really understanding. Can you say it another way? Or I'm not feeling clear. Maybe it's because I've got some pain here, but is there any other way that you can say this? Yeah. And there may not be. But there's also something else you can do in that equation is what's going on inside of you. Maybe the clarity comes when you've actually just been present with your pain, as we've talked about many times before. Just be present with it. Oh, okay, yes, I'm in pain right now. Maybe I'll just go away and deal with this, heal this, and then we can continue the conversation. Maybe I'll be clearer on it. I'm not quite sure where I'm at right now. And give yourself the benefit of the doubt as well as the other. Okay.
Did Jen say? Jen, did you want to say something?
Yes, Yen wants to say something. Yes, I'm with you.
You know, you said about benefit of the doubt, and I feel like for the longest time, I've always given people the benefit of the doubt. But then that they always say that if you give, you're not necessarily in doubt of them, but benefit of the doubt. You know, the play on the words. But you said about the red flags, and the only reason why I say it is because of my experiences I've had recently, and you know, kind of similar traits. So that for me, it's a conscious thing. So it's almost, you know, it's like a warning. And I know what you're saying about kind of if you don't give them benefit of the doubt, then you know you're kind of you know, not giving them a chance and not being, you know, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Is to me, it's basically like prevention is better than danger in such a way that, you know, I don't want to attract, I don't want these type of people in my life, and I'd rather shut them out and make way for other people to come in, and that's just a choice. So I'm choosing to reject, I'm choosing to be selective because I haven't been in the past. So I
Yes.
feel like, you know, I can afford to do that right now. I don't need to be to let any Tom, Dick, and Harry into my life, and I've done that in the past, and there's been repercussions. So it's almost as if like kind of you want. It's not so much like you want to be everyone's friend, but you also, I mean, you've got to keep them sweet as well. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. I feel like, you know, I've given other people in the past so much of my time. Others will take from you, others will give, but it's just like, it's time consuming. And I feel like the older I've got, I want to utilize my time wisely with the people that I love, that mean a lot to me, not with like just random peeps and whatever. So the red flag thing is really from some experiences I've had. I mean, about the mini stalker guy, or people that kind of, will exchange numbers, or people that, are my ex's friends and stuff, who basically are opportunists. I don't want those type of people in my life. I mean, somebody said today, oh, well, so-and-so, um, for whatever. I turned and said, I've not been in contact with that person, and I'm choosing not to, because they are friends of my ex. And I don't want to be in that circle anymore. It's a choice.
Yes.
They serve me no purpose whatsoever. They're not good for me. I know what they were like before, so I don't want to. I'm trying to avoid that altogether.
Yes. Just a couple of
So I
things,
don't.
if I yes.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything else?
No, I just feel like I don't think I'm being selfish. I feel like, because I've got to protect myself, my energy, and my son. I'm not living in fear. I'm not, thinking that things are dangerous, whatever. But I'm just more aware, because I know what it's like to be an open book. I know what it's like to give to people. I know what it's like to be consumed with other people's stuff. And I feel like, I can take responsibility for my actions and turn and say, look, I'm not being selfish, but it's all about practicing self-care, self-love and stuff. I've not had the time to do it in the past. I'm willing to invest the time now, and it's working for me. And I'm finally moving forward. It's taken me that long to shift, and there's only one direction that I need to go in.
That sounds beautiful. It's very beautiful. I just want to address two small things. Everything you're saying sounds very wholesome. I think there's a little bit of a need to bring awareness to the difference between resisting and rejecting certain types of people that I know that sort of like, you felt have fed off your energy, and setting boundaries. A wholesome person sets boundaries from love, right? It doesn't mean you have to be loving to them or anything, but you're being loving to yourself, right? So there's what I'm trying to make a difference between is the energy of resisting and rejection actually is setting up blocks. You're putting up blocks. And what happens is when you put up energetic blocks, you're actually also putting yourself behind them. Yeah. So in a way, it's almost like trapping yourself as well. Instead of, as opposed to the other option, which is just to simply set boundaries. Yeah. Loving boundaries. Yeah. That come from the heart, from self-love. Yeah. So you use the word reject. We don't want to reject, we just want to set boundaries. Yeah, there's a little difference. If you feel into your heart and feel the difference between resisting and rejecting something, which is actually an energetic block, and setting boundaries, actually, which allows fluidity. Doesn't mean that if you set boundaries that say, I don't feel comfortable with this situation, please don't call me anymore, something like that, whatever it is, yeah, instead of the rejection, the resistance kind. There's a difference, and you can feel into your heart with the difference, and feel into your heart when you need to do those kinds of things in your life again in the future, and which one feels more expansive to you and your own experience as an individual and your own energy, and which one feels more heavy and a little bit weighty, right? There's a subtle difference between the two. Is that helpful at all? Yeah, in just bringing awareness to that, because I feel there was a slight energy of rejecting that you were talking about earlier. I'm just using your word rejection, and we don't want to reject. We just want to set boundaries, I think. Mm-hmm.
No, everything you said was absolutely right. I mean, the boundaries thing is what I do before the rejection. So there's been two. Yeah, I didn't use the word boundaries. So the boundaries were okay. So it's like this. So the two most recent incidents, the red flags. Obviously, my intuition, my gut feelings telling me, what kind of, no, you don't really want to entertain and stuff like that. So the boundaries are in place, then the boundaries are crossed, and then you give the benefit of that, thinking, do you know what? Just you don't even want to extend the olive branch. You just give them a little bit, just put them in their place and stuff, and hope they get the answer. No, they don't get the answer. So I'm thinking, there's how many more boundaries do I need to be? So I get fed up, because it's like, really, I'm not going to entertain this. It got to a point where somebody else said to me, it could be that every time you respond to them, they're holding on to it.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. And I thought, oh, okay, that's a little bit weird. So
Yes.
for me, I find it a little bit weird, and and they just turned and said, look, and it carries on like that, you just need to block them. And that's exactly what I did. And I didn't
Yes.
even hesitate. I thought to myself, I don't want to be consumed with, their life story and what they're going through, because I know that I already know that it's going to consume me, and I'm not willing to do that, because I don't know these people from Adam. I don't wish to be their support and stuff like that, because I've got my own stuff to deal with.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's
I mean,
like,
blocking somebody can actually be a heart's truth movement to set a boundary. That is sounds to me like it was your heart's truth movement to set the boundary by blocking them, and that's perfectly fine. It's not right or wrong. It's just the energy with which you do it. That's all. To
oh yeah,
preserve
I'm a little
your
bit cutthroat. I'm a little bit ruthless when it comes to blocking. I do think I do.
energy.
I'm an R for a split second, and I think, nah, look, if it's got to be done, it's got to be done, and I don't owe them an explanation. I just keep moving forward, and it's not done out of malice or with vicious intent. It really isn't. It's just, it's just how I feel. I don't really want to entertain you. It's got to a point like, I'm not repulsed by them. It's just they don't mean anything to me, and that's not me being harsh. It's just I don't need to know them. I don't know what it
Absolutely.
is.
You could check in on your own energy in these cases. Yeah, if you feel fine with the status quo, then that's fine. If you feel absolutely fine, there's no sort of pain anywhere, then that's fine. Job done. There you go. Job done. As long as it's not denial. Yeah. So you can just scan yourself if you feel the need to, and just okay, I'm good to go. This job done. Closure. Perhaps that's fine.
I feel relieved. That sounds
Yeah,
terrible.
and relief will come. Absolutely. Yes. Good,
Okay.
good. Relief is release. Relief is release. Actually, the ancient word for the ancient letter S in France, in French, was F. Relief. Relief. Relief is release. So you've released it. And that's what we want. We want to just release it out of our energetic system. Gone. Proper. That's proper closure. Gone. Out. The other thing about giving benefit of a doubt, I just want to quickly address this. Sometimes when we give somebody the benefit of doubt, it feels a little bit like there's an expectation that they're going to behave this way or that when we do that. Yeah, so just be aware of that. That's all I want to say about this, because I want to move on. Yeah. So, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but there's a slight expectation that travels along with that. They better come up with the goods. Just be aware of that. So just to finish off with some of the most important points as to what makes a wholesome person. A wholesome person looks for the love in every experience. A wholesome person looks for the silver lining, looks for the love. A wholesome person chooses love, always. And when we don't choose love, we make sure that we rectify it very quickly and choose again, and we choose love. We're going to make mistakes, but we keep returning to the drawing board and starting off from that place of love. And if you don't know what to do in a situation, ask yourself the question. We've talked about this before, but as I said, I'm summing up today. What would love do now? Sometimes I ask myself, what would Christ do now? Not that I'm religious, but for me, he embodies an energy that I can identify with of love. So what would love do now? Wait for the answer. Wait to know before you respond. Love sometimes doesn't do anything at all. It just lets it be as it is with no judgment, and the energy might just diffuse on its own. Love may, on the other hand, behave in a certain way, but it will be loving. Love may set boundaries. Love may block someone from calling us because they're draining our energy and it's not serving me or my son or my family. Yeah. Love behaves in all kinds of ways, but it behaves from love. Yeah. All of this makes for a very positive, wholesome, strong person. Wholesome means nothing more really than loving, actually. It's that loving choice that you make every time. And like I said, love behaves in many different ways, but it doesn't go out to hurt. So if you block somebody, like you said, Yen, you didn't block that person to hurt them. You block them as an act of self-love. That is me setting boundaries. It's an act of self-love. I know that this is what I need to do because I've tried everything else and it ain't worked, so sorry. Down go the shutters. That's an act of self-love. Even though to the mind it looks cruel and, you know, you say sometimes it's a bit cutthroat. It's not really cutthroat. If you're feeling fine about it, if the energy's gone out of your body, yeah, and you know that you did it out of love for yourself and for your son, it was your truth. Yeah? A wholesome person behaves from the truth, which is love. A wholesome person behaves lovingly all the time, chooses love all the time. Okay. So I just want to move on to keep eye open number 3. And I'm not going to spend much time on this because this is the not so pretty picture. In other words, what isn't a wholesome person? And we already know this, but it's just really to just sum up with some final awareness so that we can know where we're not behaving wholesomely. And I'm not going to put it out to you because I think you already know, but you can perhaps write down your own little list of what is not. What makes that individual not completely rounded? The first thing I've got down here is the classic pointing of the finger, the blame. Whenever we blame anything outside of ourselves for our own inner experiences, we are disempowering ourselves from our own ability to heal ourselves. Whenever we go, it's that fault, it's their fault, they're the cause of it, anything outside of you, if you find that at any point in time you are making something outside of you the cause of your pain, you are disempowering yourselves. And actually you are creating a situation where you are unable to heal yourself because you put all the energy out there. Your power is within. It's with yourself and what you can do with yourself. That doesn't mean inaction, yeah? It doesn't mean inaction. It may mean that once you've healed yourself, maybe it's time to just, like Yen did, block someone from contacting you, or leaving a relationship, or continuing it in a different way. All of those choices will become clear once you've owned your experience fully. Yeah. And this is a big one for us because it looks like it's coming from the outside. It looks like they are hurting me. But as long as we continue to see it like that, we resolve nothing. And I'm a classic. I still do this with my dad. I'm like, it's your fault. But I'm going nowhere with that blame. I'm going nowhere with it. I just cause more pain and I'm sending him more nasty energy. I don't want to do that. I need to sort it out pretty quickly because he's 84. I was saying to someone the other day that the greatest pain when we lose someone to death, I think we said it on a call a few calls ago, is the regret that we have from not relating wholesomely with someone. When we lose somebody to death or to some kind of separation, the greatest pain is the regret. So behave wholesomely as much as you can so that if they do leave your life, it's less painful. It's a big one. I've put down here, I came up with 3 I's, the letter I. If you find yourself trying to influence someone, if you find yourself imposing upon somebody's energy, if you find yourself interfering in any shape or form, take a step back, come out of their space. A wholesome person will come straight back out of that space. We do it all the time, especially to our children. It's a big one. Just keep stepping back into your own space and hold space for yourself and the other if they need it, but especially for yourself. So avoid the 3 I's, influencing, imposing, and interfering. It just came through as something that I wanted to share that we haven't addressed specifically, but it speaks for itself. There's lots of other I's probably as well. But I think you know all of these things. Would anybody else like to throw in something in the mix, if you feel like it, of what isn't wholesome behavior? how somebody who's not fully rounded, who's not fully matured, who's not fully self-loving might behave. They may attack, right? They may want to hurt. All of those things. Let's put them behind us. Good to go, everybody? Yes, my love.
I mean, I don't need to like talk about it, but I'm just saying that like it was out of love that I told my friend, like, because they just were going into blame and lots of blame on me, and I didn't understand it because it was like a different character to who I knew, and then telling me I was doing things like manipulatively, like that it was all natural and nothing was manipulative at all, and it was like they were very skewed in why I was doing things, and it made no sense, like as if it felt like another person was skewing how they were thinking. That's how I felt, because it was not even them. And then in the end, I just said to myself, I love this person so much, but if I'm causing this much pain to them and this much confusion and stress, then I'm better just leaving. This is the right, like my heart told me I must leave, not out of fear, but not because I couldn't compete, but because I had to do it for the right reasons. And so I said to them, like, I'm sorry, but like I've just lost my grandfather, and this is what you're giving me, and I don't think it's right. Don't come back to me until you feel you're in the right space. You miss me, or maybe you respect me. You know, don't come back until then. But I said at the end, we didn't come this far in our 15-year friendship to get to this point. And that's what I left with. And I left with grace. I really truly feel like I explained myself with more grace than I ever have done before. I was quite immature before. And, it's like 10, 11 months, no, 9 months later. I don't even know what months it is now. And I'm just shocked by it. And it's still, you say it's less painful, but I think this feels more painful than my mom dying.
Okay, so there's some healing to be done there, sweetie. There's
Yeah.
definitely something to be done. So just keep going there, sweetie. Just be fully present with the pain. Yeah, just be fully present with the pain. It won't kill you. To just be alongside the pain.
Yeah.
All you need to do is just be aware of it, rather than try to fix it outside or worry about whether you did the right thing or the wrong thing, or was this from a Heart's Truth movement, or I've lost my mum and now I've lost my best friend from 15 years and it's still painful. Keep healing, keep healing, keep healing. Keep healing the pain. On the other side of the pain is clarity. Yeah. And you may get a Heart's Truth movement to give them a call, or you may just, because you're no longer in pain, you may just feel at peace. You may feel, actually, yes, this was the right thing to do at the time, yeah, and I'm at peace with it now. Yeah.
Mm.
So there is some healing there, definitely. Can you go there, sweetie? Can you
I
spend
have
time?
days where I'll just weep. I'm like, think it's good for my sister now. I'll just let it out. But
So when you're weeping, just allow yourself to observe yourself releasing the pain. The weeping is releasing the pain. Sometimes we align with it and we're actually still compounding it and creating more of the pain. Yeah. So just allow yourself to be a little bit like the observer. Okay, this is all the pain that I store in my body around this. I'm releasing it. Oh, I'll just keep letting it go. Keep letting it go. Sometimes if you're feeling the pain and you're not weeping, you can just watch it. Oh, there it is. Oh. Soften to it. The more soft you are, the more soft your energy is, the easier that energy of pain can just float out of your system. That's the physics of it. Energetically, the softer you are to all of this, notice where is it showing up in your body? Is it showing up in your heart?
Throat.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like around here, upper chest kind of area. Okay, so this is where you need to go. You take your breath in here.
Yeah.
Big, beautiful, gentle breath, expanding it. Just keep letting it go, sweetie. Keep letting it go until it's gone. And then at the very least, you'll feel better. And then you may have a heart's movement to do something or nothing. We don't know. But at least get to the point where there's no more pain. That's really important, because otherwise we're just carrying it around. And it blocks our throat chakra. It blocks our expression. It blocks your true expression. That's it. There it is, okay? Just keep letting it go, okay? Do this work. I promise you this work is the quickest way to healing. It's the quickest way I know to healing pain. Simple observation. Soften, soften, soften. Okay, there it is. Use it when it comes up. Okay, let it go. You can do it.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. It's better to relieve ourselves, in other words, to release the pain, than to carry it around with us. Remember, we said that the ego is addicted to pain, kind of gets its kicks and gets its feelings out of being in pain, because maybe we get attention from it and all kinds of other sort of things that come with pain, but we don't want it really, because it hurts. You can use your hands to clear it as well. Just do whatever comes to you intuitively to do. Okay, you'll be fine. You can do this. It's not complicated. The technique is not rocket science on purpose, because it was never meant to be difficult to release pain. Yeah, it was never meant to be difficult. And it was never meant to be lengthy. It's actually quite quick. Just be present with it. Okay? All right. So just to recap, my loves, I love you so much. Take a deep breath, Baharak. Allow yourself to breathe into it. Open up here. Do it right now. Open up your neck, sweetie. Open up your body. Just take a breath here. Allow yourself to feel it. Oh, now is your chance to do it, because it's right there, okay? Do the work now, even whilst you're on this call. There's no time like the present. So open your body up. A lot of the time when I'm sitting like this and I'm trying to heal pain that I have in my neck and everything, it's very difficult because you're all scrunched up. So literally. Oh. Just keep opening up the neck, the throat, the upper lungs, the heart. Really open it up. And after the call, you can just lie on your bed and make sure that you position the pillow in a way where you can have all of this opened up. It's easier for it to go. Drop the shoulders. Oh, I detach. I let this go on all levels now. You can say those words. And as you do that, you're just watching the pain. Keep softening to it. If we tighten to it, it's going to be very difficult to let it go. So it's when you're in the pain that it's that moment that you need to do this. So open up, drop the shoulders, sweetie. Drop your shoulders. There it is. Yeah, drop the shoulders. Oh. Oh. Just keep breathing in deep, big breaths with an open mouth. Exhale with an open mouth. Keep returning to this technique unless you have another one that you know that is better than this. Oh. Oh. I release this now. I detach. It really works, because what you're doing is you're working with energy here. Tightened energy that hurts because it's all tightened up. I let this go. Okay, that's the practice. Okay, until it's gone. Keep doing it, because it's your birthright to be free of it. It's your birthright to be free of pain. Okay. Keep practicing it as I talk away. Don't worry about being fully present for this. It's more important for you to be fully present with the pain, not aligned with it, not tightening up with it, but I see you, I can feel you, there you are. Soften, soften, soften. All right, so just to recap before I move into the final wrapping up of love for today, just remind yourself of what a wholesome person is and how a wholesome person behaves. A wholesome person would do what you're doing right now, Baharak, which would be, okay, the pain is inside me. It's mine. It's nobody else's, because I'm the one that's experiencing it. I just need to heal. Take responsibility for your pain. Do what you know best to let it go. Remind yourself of how a wholesome person behaves in a relationship. Notice the difference between how a wholesome person behaves and how somebody who's not fully rounded, who's still pointing the finger at the outside to blame the outside. There's no empowerment in that. You go nowhere in that. You go great places when you own it and heal it, because your experience is inside of you. And remind yourselves that a whole relationship, a truly blossoming relationship, is when two wholesome people come together. So be as wholesome as you possibly can and make yourself the invitation for others to do the same. But no expectations, because they're going to have to go on their own journey as well. But at least be wholesome, and as wholesome as you possibly can in every minute of the day, in every breath that you take, in every word that you speak, in every thought that you think, in every energetic communication that you communicate and express out to the outside world. Make it one of love. And one last truth to finish off, to wrap up this beautiful 6 months that we've had together, that I hope has helped you as much as it's helped me. Remind yourself of one final truth, that you are in a relationship with yourself. So how would I love myself in this situation? Makes it easier, right? And now that you are aware that you are operating in duality, but you are also aware of how oneness behaves, how wholesomeness behaves, you can behave with wholesomeness in duality. And know that this aspect of you that's turned up in your relationship is an aspect of you. It's you. That you are in a relationship with everything. But there is no separation, really. It is still you. So what you were saying, Baharak, about it being a mirror, think of it like this. It's not a mirror. It's not a mirror. It's just an extension of who you are. It's all you. It's all you. Everyone you meet, everything you see outside of you is all you. So relate to it as such. Love it like you love yourself. Makes it easier. It's easier to behave with wholesomeness, to relate with wholesomeness, with oneness, even in the world of duality, even in separation. Put up a post-it note somewhere where you'll see it regularly saying, I'm in a relationship with myself. I'm in a relationship with everything. It's all me. It's all me. Makes it easier.
Just triggered me a bit because that's like literally one of his favorite sentences. It's all you.
So look at the trigger.
Yeah. Is there a camera? Yes, here.
You're on film. Nothing to hide, right?
Yeah.
We can't hide anything anyway because we're in a relationship with ourselves. What's there to hide? Why is there anything to hide? Why would we hide from our own?
I'm proud I didn't turn off the camera when I was crying. I could have easily have done that.
We can ask Rasheen to cut it out. All good. You're inviting us to do the same. You're inviting us in your vulnerability to be vulnerable. I cry a lot. I cried heavily over the weekend after all the upset with my daughter. And I healed it as quickly as possible because it's toxic. It's toxicity. There's no point going on a, detoxing diet if you've got all this toxin inside you. Anyway, the greatest detoxing diet is to heal your pain and let it right out of your system. And you'll feel the freedom. You'll feel much healthier, quite literally. Your well-being and your wellness isn't just about what you put in your body in terms of food and drink, and it's your relationships, actually, a lot. So remind yourselves that your relationships are the sacred ground in which you uncover the truth. Use them as such. Keep behaving from your truth. No matter what goes on in the outside world, just keep loving it back. Love it back. And I'll leave you with one final example, which I'll never forget. to my dying day. In fact, probably on my deathbed, I will remember this seemingly banal experience, but that's just changed my heart forever. I was on the M4 motorway, motoring down from London Heathrow to this house, to this village. And I stopped in one of the petrol stations on the way to fill up and grab something to eat. And I parked my car in the car park next to a big station wagon car with a family in it, husband and wife in the front, kids in the back, and a dog in the middle on the back seat with the kids. And the father had lost the plot, and he was facing the back seat and shouting at the kids. And at that very moment, the dog leapt up from the middle of the back seat with its paws on both of the front seats and just licked him all over his face. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Can you be like that in your relationships? If you can, and I know you can because I believe in you and I know you can because you're the same as me, just keep loving them back because they're just in pain. Keep healing their pain, lick their wounds, lick yours in return. Be the dog that loves unconditionally, no matter how anybody behaves. They just haven't figured it out yet. They haven't become wholesome in their own rights yet. No judgment there. They're just still journeying. Their journey's as sacred as yours. Keep loving them back. Keep loving them back. And where you weren't able to love and you still feel pain, even though there's closure there, just send them some love. Send them some forgiveness. You'll feel the relief. You'll feel the release inside of you too. I remember in a session, I think it was last session or the session before, we talked about how in our true essence we are love. All you're doing is loving love. All that is really going on is that love is loving love. That love is loving itself. That's all that's really happening in the truest essence of things. Put that up as a post-it note to remind yourself that all that is really going on is love, loving love. And love will love the pain away. So fall not into the trap of pain again, other than to heal it and love it until it's no longer there. And keep returning to love. I think that's a wrap from me. It's been an absolute enormous pleasure for me. I've been on a huge journey as well, from excruciating fear, almost paralysis of my fear of judgment, from how I would be received, from what I wanted so badly to share with so many of you, to one of greater confidence, greater self-love. So I've been doing all of this work as well on this journey together. And I'd just like to say that I got my dates wrong. So although today is the final class, the final session on how to heal your relationships, I will be on again next Monday at the same time, but with a little treat for you all. I'm going to give you a little treat. I'll give you a little treat from my heart to yours. So if you can come, it'll be lovely to have you there just for a last little bit of fun. Probably a shorter session as well. Is there anything you want to share? Anything that you'd like to say at this point in time before we close for the day?
I just want to say thank you for taking on this journey with the relationships, better understanding with relationships. I feel like I'm ready. I'm single and ready to mingle.
Love it. Yes, you've got so much more awareness, haven't you, babes? You know, you're going to be great. We're on our way to mastery. Yeah, it sounds like a big word. It's just love being love, isn't it? Us being our true selves. Definitely well on our way. So much more awareness, right? Cool. Thank you. Thank you for joining so often. It's been an absolute pleasure. I always get a little heart leap of joy when you join, so it's lovely. Thank you so much.